How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator of the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time we are doing something that is a little different.
Different from reviewing Golden Age characters?
That's not what I mean. I mean, we're reviewing a character that had a name in the Golden Age, which another hero has in the in modern day Marvel.
You've done a number of videos on that.
I know I did a series of videos who had the names first, but I haven't really reviewed characters like that. Anyway, what we're doing is we're doing Vision, the original Vision from the Golden Age, who I know that there's a different Vision now who is a synthetic human or android, or Vision has been so many different things in modern Marvel, but that's not who this video is about. This is a supernatural being that goes by the name of Vision, but he's also in the early issues presented himself as Aarkus, but as the stories go on, everybody refers to him as the Vision. The title of the comic book is The Vision. Why he needed a actual name, I mean, he could have been the Vision. Even in the very last panel, when the daughter's acting the professor, do you think the Vision will ever return? Nobody calls him Aarkus. They call him the Vision. So why he needed a name doesn't make any sense. Now, this Vision is a far cry from who he is in modern Marvel. There is a whole list of abilities that he doesn't have. He's not superhuman in any way, even though he's supernatural. He cannot fly, shape alteration. I mean, it's controlling the elements. A lot of that's not in here, and a lot of the powers that he has shows up for one issue and then doesn't show up again. It's like they said, ooh, this is a great idea that we're never gonna do again. I mean, he gets held into a cell, he goes into like an astral protection form, he freezes people, but it's just like they give him abilities that only exist to further the plot and then never do them again. You established that he could freeze people. Do you know how much more interesting your stories would have been if he could freeze them at the end? You showed that he can go into an astral form where he can control people's minds. Let's see that again. There were so many cool things you could have done if the powers had stayed. But you one and done a lot of his abilities. And then there were things that you kept around where he could come in and leave and smoke. And why this original version couldn't fly? I mean, he seems to be projecting in the air, but that's only with him disappearing and reappearing in the smoke. So he doesn't have the ability to fly. He can fly an airplane. He actually does that in an issue. So he has... I don't know why he would have any skills in aviation. He's from a supernatural realm that I think exists in smoke. They never really talk about his realm very often. They mention it from time to time, but we don't delve into it. And with 37 issues, you'd think that we could have had at least one issue of his homeworld or a better explanation. Now, he fights a whole array of things here. Supernatural creatures, godlike deities, aliens, underground mole people, a metal man, a whole, like I said, he fights street level criminals too. No reoccurring villains. This thing is a preponderance of, hey, I have an idea, and let's never do it again. It's like everything that ended up on the cutting room floor got thrown into this comic book in some way, shape, or form. And You'll see it when we review it. It gets really weird. Now, yeah, he goes after the foreign nationals like the Nazis and the Japanese and Chinese, which, I mean, in the Golden Age, he kind of had to. So they have that. But a lot of this stuff, it's just so weird. Well, we can't put that in Captain America or Thor and Namor, but we don't want to get rid of the idea because we're patting ourselves on the back because we're so proud of this idea. Let's put it in the Vision comic. Everything on the cutting room floor ends up in the Vision comic, which feels unnecessary. Okay, so that's an introduction to him, and we're gonna go over some of the things I just talked about right now. You'll see the first appearance. A lot of stuff that they established in the first appearance never appears again in any of the other issues. So it makes you wonder why they did it. I think it was something where it's like, hey, this is something that we're going to continue in the other issues, and they don't continue it. It's not like they just brought up a random power that they're never going to use again. They established things in the first issues, which what you establish in the first issue, you have in all the issues. So why they abandon some of these concepts so quickly doesn't make any sense. You established this, and it's never there again. If you're never going to use it again, don't establish it in the first place. And if you do establish it, use it as part of the character now. That it needs to be part of each one. How you do anything is how you do everything. What appears in the first appears over in the other ones. Comic books don't have pilot issues. They have the first issue where you establish the powers, the persons, the base, and what he can and can't do, and then you make the other issues based off of that. So why they abandon some of the stuff that he can do doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's go ahead and cover the Vision, and then you'll get a bit of better idea of why I see it the way I do. All right, let's get this thing started. Vision, Aarkus, first appeared in Marvel Mystery Comics number 13 in 1940. The publisher is Marvel Comics, and he is created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk on Joe Simon and Jack Kirby because I could not find their names attached anywhere on this. Vision has 37 appearances, 36 appearances in Marvel Mystery Comics, and then one appearance in Kid Comics, and that's comics with a K. And I had trouble finding it at first because I was looking for comics with a C, but I've made that correction on Wikipedia. And it doesn't feel like a Joe Simon and Jack Kirby creation. Now, I'm not going to say that I am a large connoisseur of Joe Simon's work. I mean, when it comes to Golden Age, I am only recently just started expanding my knowledge, but a lot of the stories doesn't seem to be him. I'm not saying he didn't have his hand in any of them. Some of these stories may very well have been his, but I don't think they all were. And Jack Kirby's artwork may have been present for some of the panels, but I don't think that he drew everything. Because there are some panels in here where I could be like, oh yeah, that feels like Kirby. And then there are some in here that I go, no, Kirby wouldn't have drawn like that at all. So even if they may have been the creators, I don't think that they had their hand in every story. And considering the fact that there were so many different comic books coming out at the time, and they couldn't have spent all of their time drawing all of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, they may have come up with the initial idea, but they definitely didn't do every single issue for the Vision. Now, the Vision is a weird thing. He is a far cry from who he may be representing today. Because just back then, I mean, like, I know some of the powers that he has, like with flight, superhuman strength, superhuman agility. He didn't have those powers back then. Of all 37 issues, I don't believe that I saw him fly once. I don't think he had superhuman strength. I think it was above average strength. So his speed, his agility, his strength, his durability, I believe are above average, but I would not put them on the level of superhuman. Not in any way. Now, there are certain powers that he's shown to have that wouldn't represent in any other issues. Like in one issue, he gets put into a steel cell that he can't break out of, and he does some sort of an astral projection form, and he mind controls someone to let him out of his bonds, which I don't see happening again. Occasionally, he had powers to freeze people, but a lot of these powers were either one and done or a couple of times and done. Now, a part of being a pugilist, he had the ability to fight. He flew a plane once, so he has some knowledge of aviation. But these powers weren't present through all the issues. There were some of these issues that if you missed the issue, you would miss the power itself. Now, he fought a really large and confusing array of individuals. Now, he fought Nazis, which was only natural back then. He fought foreign, abroad and in the U.S. I think there was an infiltration cell. He fought the Japanese and the Chinese. And I don't know how to explain this. He fought some creatures that were representative of kind of godlike or not in the mortal realm of creatures. But then he also fought some supernatural creatures as well, like a werewolf, and they called it a vampire because it sucked blood, but it doesn't look like any kind of a vampire I'm familiar with. And it's not like they couldn't have made vampires. I mean, I've seen vampires in the Golden Age comics. They didn't have to make this some weird four-armed plant-looking creature that subsists on blood. Now, a couple of times, Vision, even though he's supposed to be super durable, which I think is above average durability, he still got knocked out and captured on more than one occasion, but the capturings were only just to further the plot along, because he didn't stay captured for very long. I mean, he could get hit in the back of the head and be knocked unconscious, but even individuals who had superhuman durability, for some reason, could get knocked out and captured too, which is still something that just baffled me about the Golden Age. And, like I said, a couple times he did get caught, but he was able to get out of the bonds pretty quickly. One of the things that did seem to persist in his powers is that he was summoned by... he could travel through smoke. So, in every issue, he seemed to know where he needed to be, and if there was smoke or... in one, it was the cold vapors that made like a misty type smoke, he could appear, and then he would beat the bad guys. And it, like I said, godlike creatures, supernatural representations, and just street thugs. Wherever there was evil, he could show up and take care of them. Occasionally, the villain that he was facing died, but it was only just because that's what needed to happen. But like I said, he is a far cry away from what he used to be, and I don't know if he still comes and goes in the Smoke, because I've read his character bio, and what they have, I guess him coming from a gas planet on a gas world and has something to do with Jupiter, has nothing to do with his Golden Age appearance. Apparently he's from a supernatural world, and he's summoned through smoke, which might be where Hellman Comics got the idea for Nightmare. The last 2 issues, Nightmare was being summoned through cigar smoke, which may have influenced that. But I mean, it's somewhat interesting to read. It's not as stupid as some of the stuff I've read, but it's not the most intriguing either. I was hoping for something that was close to what we see in modern Marvel, but I mean, it's not bad, but it's not the greatest. I expected something more, so I'm not completely disappointed, but I was hoping for something more than what we got. I mean, some of the powers that they have listed here, like teleportation through smoke, yes, he had that. Mind control, and in 1 issue. Image projection, in 1 issue. The freezing powers, in a couple of issues. But they have his powers as shape alteration, hypnosis, flight, martial artist, and things like that didn't exist. He was definitely a pugilist, but as far as martial arts, I wouldn't put that on there. And all of these powers couldn't have existed in the Golden Age, because then he'd be like a super warrior. And, I mean, the only super warrior we have is Captain America. No. Anyways, let's go ahead and cover the first appearance so you can get an idea of what they were doing when it comes to him, and maybe get a little better idea of what Vision was going to be. Now, he never was a featured cover. He appeared on 3 cover issues, but those covers were also in this comic. So he never appeared on the comic, was never a featured story, but he was never a backup issue either. Interesting enough to get 37 comics, but not so interesting as to keep going. He definitely wasn't one of the big 3, such as Captain America, Human Torch, and Namor. But, I mean, very few people rose to that level. But he had enough that 37 appearances kept him around for a couple of years at least. So enough popularity to have a few years, but not so much popularity as to be a continuing feature. So, and his appearance in Kid Comics, I'll show it here real quick. I don't like it. I think this is horrible. I don't know who came up with this idea. I don't know what's going wrong with the color scheme. The story itself is just a basic fight Nazi story. It's not intriguing at all. They could have done without this one, or at least done something better. I don't like it. Okay, let's go ahead and cover his first appearance. The Vision. Science discovers smoke to be the long sought-for gateway to the supernatural. Professor Enoch Mason, Dimensional Smasher, blasted a path into the beyond, and through the breach that once separated the material world from the supernatural stepped the Vision. All perpetrators of evil were to rue the day that the Vision appeared, for to them he was Nemesis. Death and disaster befall all enemies of society who beheld him in his true form. Though smoke has released the Vision from the supernatural world, it is also needed to release him from this world of ours, and a lack of substance will trap him as effectively as iron bars will trap a mortal. I'm not on board with this final sentence. I'm not quite sure I understand it. I mean, I know he uses smoke to come into our world, but I don't... Anyways, he's not known as Nemesis, he's known as Aarkus. Okay. Behind the infrared glass window of the observatory... I mean, this is one heck of a beginning. I love the lead-in. You don't see that enough in the Golden Age. In the Golden Age, 5 sentences. That's the intro. This is a big one. Behind the infrared glass of the observatory room in the laboratory of Dr. Enoch Mason, 3 of America's greatest minds listen cynically to Mason's speech. And he's talking about how he has the ability to breach into the supernatural world. Now, there is a large number of arrows, and I am absolutely furious with it, because it wasn't just once, it wasn't twice, it was numerous times on, I think it's like the first 3 pages is arrows. And that's another reason why I'm doubting it was Jack Kirby, is because I don't think that Jack Kirby's artwork needed arrows, because he knew how to draw things. Gentlemen, the purpose of my demonstration tonight is to prove that the so-called ghosts and spirits that actually inhabit the world of the universe, whose dimensional spheres are to coexist with our own. Then this is to be some sort of scientific stance, I take it. And then you see the arrows here. We go from the laboratory to who's going to be the villain of the day. Meanwhile, in the luxurious rooms of Brands Bowlerine, crime king of Lincoln City, 2 gunmen receive a grim assignment. And don't forget, what I said. Either Mason comes across, or you take his gadgets. I didn't say his is. Okay. What have ye got against this old guy's brains? A grudge, Queenie. I got it for Mason. Highbrow kind? I'm confused by the nomenclature. Even as a kid, I used to hate him. They laughed at me at school and called me dumb. Later, there was this girl. She called me down because I was too rough and ignorant, too dumb to ever amount to anything. That was years ago. Now I own this town. I get my rake off. Wow. From the pockets of every yokel and big shot. I'm on top, see, but I ain't forgotten. So I buy up promissory notes written by professors like Doc Mason, who borrow dough to buy equipment. I get a kick out of watching them squirm when I break them. Okay, so he buys up, he basically buys debt and then collects it. This is one of the things I've talked about over and over again, how black people had just a horrible depiction in the Golden Age. See, he answers the door, and look at the spelling of this paragraph of his. He's basically saying, "Sorry, gentlemen, the doctor is powerfully busy experimenting now. If you come back tomorrow." That's not what he says. Sorry, gentleman. Look how gentleman is spelled. The doctor is powerful busy experimenting. Now, if y'all could come back tomorrow. That is horrible. The depiction of black people in the Golden Age was just horribly done. Okay, so they hold this guy at gunpoint, and they get into the laboratory. In his laboratory, Enoch Mason's assault on the unknown has begun. His dimensional spasher unleashes titanic forces, which barter with merciless fury at an intangible wall Mason seeks to penetrate. So basically, they're breaking into this lab, and I guess that he wants to take the equipment so he can sell it. And the preponderance of arrows is annoying. Okay. Okay, Doc, stop the machine. Can't use it useless. You pay up what you owe Broly. See, that's what I mean. He wants them to pay up. You can't do this. My years of research, hard work, are all in this demonstration. Now you must wait. I won't pay, huh? Then Louis and me carry out orders. We're gonna blow this joint with all of you monkeys in it sky high. And then we see the vision appear. You see, I don't think Jack Kirby would have drawn the vision like this. That's why I don't think he had a hand in a lot of this. And there are errors again. Suddenly, behind the unsuspecting thug, a vision appears in a cloud of smoke created by his cigar. Yeah, now you see where I think that Nightmare, they got the idea for Nightmare. Vision comes through the cigar smoke. The gangster has unwittingly helped open the door to another dimension by supplying the necessary element. Smoke! I mean, look at the boldness of that letter. Yeah, this would not be the first time that he comes through smoke. So he freezes the guy. Let's see. He slowly becomes a frozen horror. I am Aarkus, destroyer of evil. I've crossed the great cold into your world. I am here. I am going for the other evil one. He is fated to die. I shall return soon. Yeah, he was not above killing the enemies. He didn't kill all the time, but he was not above making sure that they wouldn't come back again. So, I think this is a little bit of form of mental manipulation. I know we see Vision face here and the eyes, but he's actually hit by a car. Craziest thing I ever saw, I tell you. He saw my headlights, yet he ran smack into my car before I could stop. Yeah, I mean, he runs right into the car, so, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so, we're back into the lab again. What can I tell them, gentlemen? Y'all saw what happened, yet who would believe our story? How can I tell them that his death was caused by an entity from another world? Now, Aarkus Vision takes a human form here, which I have not seen in any of the other comic books. All other 36 appearances, he does not take a human form again, which boggles the mind to why make this happen? Why show him taking a human form that you will never show again? I mean, yeah, it's the first issue. This is something that you established, but you never have it show up again. Another part of the establishment, it says it right here. How did you get, he said how did you get in here? You let me in. It is I, Aarkus, in material shape. Only those approaching death can see me in my true form as the Vision. I don't know why you established this. In all the other issues, you don't take this human form again, and everybody sees and knows you as Vision. Now, the only explanation that I can do is we're not immortal. We die one day, so technically we're all approaching death. So that's why. But no, in every single issue, we see nothing but the Vision's true form. So why he takes on a human form here, I don't understand. They didn't need to establish this. I mean, in this issue, it makes it easier for him to get knocked out, so he can be held prisoner, because that's something that you did in the Golden Age. But this is a huge non sequitur and an explanation that doesn't make any sense, because they never do it again. I mean, I read the issues. He keeps appearing and then disappearing in the smoke, but as Vision. So everybody sees it. They don't see this human form. So why they bothered to put this in is completely ridiculous. Okay. As he threatened Dr. Mason with the gun, he stepped back into the... So he's giving you an explanation for what happened. He's just saying he took a step into the refrigerocoils, and that's what, made him freeze. Which I don't know why they're trying to cover it up. Maybe they were going with the superhero identity thing like we've seen with other heroes, but they abandoned it after the first issue. So I don't know. Maybe this was something that they were going to do moving forward, where he was going to have the human identity and then he would be the Vision whenever he was needed to. But since the fact that he always came into smoke and then disappeared into smoke again at the end of the issue, this is completely unnecessary and ridiculous. Okay, so we see the cop go up and they give him the explanation of what happened by leaving, the story of Vision out. And then we see the gangsters breaking into Broly's house, the doctor. Now, I thought that this was his wife at first. Apparently, this is his daughter. So, as they're walking out, Vision is walking next to the doctor. Stealthily, the mobsters stalk the two unsuspecting figures approaching within range of the gang's well-prepared attack. So they get ambushed, and at first he's fighting them off, but the overwhelming numbers, secure him. Which I don't like this. Phantasmo, that's who I was thinking of, where he shows up in his true form, and then he has a human body that he keeps leaving from spiritually to do anything. That's who Vision reminds me a large part of. But the human form thing is like the Vision struggles back to his senses to find his hands securely bound beside him, lies Dr. Mason inherent, while Sheila Mason lies trussed up in the same manner. You see, him being bound right here just denotes his superhuman strength right away. He was beaten up, which takes away his superhuman durability. There's just... This human form thing was just ridiculous, and they never did it again. He says that you've got a lot of trouble, so you're going to be taken care of the hard way. Torture and death, a delightful little program. You could spare a last cigarette for a condemned man, couldn't you? So he lights up the cigarette, and boof, the smoke. And then he comes up, Tony, Bomber, it's got me, help! Broly's panic mounts as his streaming eyes squints in horror and disbelief at the weird, nightmarish vision rising from the smoke's seething depths. Alright, and we're on the last page here. One of Broly's mobsters is swept off his feet by the hurtling body of his leader, which comes crashing through the door. Which is weird. He takes on the main guy and takes him down before he takes on the lackeys. It's usually you take on the lackeys and then you face down the main guy. So they're doing it a little backwards here. Okay, so he beats up all the lackeys and he takes off their clothes he ties them up. Okay, the first time I read this, I didn't know what was going on. He ties them up with their own clothing. Subduing the gangster, the Vision trusses them up in their own trousers. I hate to embarrass you boys, but there's a scarcity of rope. So he calls up the police, and as the police show up, he vanishes in the smoke. With the arrival of the police, the Vision fades into his own dimension in a thick pall of smoke. Why weren't you in your human form here? I mean, didn't you just say that you had a human form that you could form into and the only people approaching death could see you? Why disappear at all? See, that doesn't make any freaking sense. Okay, last two panels. The police free Mason and his daughter while Broly and his mobsters are apprehended and taken into custody. Take them away, men, and book them for kidnapping, attempted murder, and indecent exposure. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a new one. Do you think the Vision will return, Father? At Dr. Mason's house. Yes, I think so. He will return to continue his fight against evil. Further adventures of the Vision in our next exciting issue. And pretty much every issue would end saying that Vision was going to be appearing in either the next line of the comic book or in other issues. So, that's Vision. Okay, I hope that I didn't rant too much in the opener before I got started on this video. I hope you liked this video. This should be the last one for DC month. I know we only did or Marvel month. I know we only did a few. DC month is on the way. This is definitely one I wanted to cover for a while, and I only recently started reading the issues. I thought there was more to it, considering what I've seen him do in modern Marvel. So I was a little surprised and a little taken back. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you.